You need to, before we get really going this, do you need to reapply your lip gloss or anything? Are you good? You
No,
ready
the
to
lip
go?
gloss is good. Yeah, we're
I
good.
mean, the shine is good. You're ready to go. So, ladies and gentlemen, it is 2025 and it's official. And if you're looking for some help, someone to run alongside you in your agency, look no further than Smart Choice. They are the fastest growing agency network, hands down. And it's not only because they are trusted by 10,000 agencies across the country, they also have 11 billion in written premium. So it's a proven fact that not only are they trusted by agencies, but they're carriers as well. And they run alongside each other and they help each other with lower thresholds for premium, higher commissions, and there's no annual fees, no monthly fees, none of that kind of stuff. It is just a partnership worth having, whether you need markets, whether you need commercial, whether you need personal lines, whether you need E&S. Call my friends over at Smart Choice, smartchoiceagents.com. Also, if you're looking to improve your onboarding process, the intake process, all of those things, go to Canopy Connect. Use canopy.com/Heath. You'll see, go back a couple episodes, check out the one with Tolga where he talks about all the new stuff they're doing. You cannot afford to go any longer without having them as part of your process. I'm telling you right now, it's a game changer. Use canopy.com. Use canopy.com. Tell them the mayor sent you, or go to /Heath. Get you a discount. It is phenomenal. Also, call my friends over at Old School Marketing, OLDE, schoolmarketing.com. And whether you're looking at direct mail pieces, digital marketing, all the above, it is 2025. It's time to get the train rolling and get your marketing dollars out and start spending them and setting up your year for success right now. That's oldschoolmarketing.com. Ladies and gentlemen, get out of the way and let you check out this conversation with Tinsley English. Welcome to Insurance Town.
Let's do it.
Especially...
I saw people like putting up their Christmas lights. And at first I started to get a little judgy. I'm like, what are you doing? But I think that people just feel cheerful when they get those lights on. And it's like their joy, they go into joy mode. And so it's like, well, leave them up all year long if that's what lights you up. And
funny you say that.
Yeah.
So my wife's big into decorating everything. And like every holiday, she goes all out. Well, last year, she spent an enormous amount of time on these like little trees around the house. Like we have the big trees, 3 or 4 of the big trees in the house. But then like these little ones, she would decorate them like all fancy, like like what you'd see on Pinterest or whatever. There was one in our room that sat right by her bed, on her side of the bed, that she liked to look at out the window, and she would see it when we were having our coffee or whatever. And she's like, I'm not taking this thing down. Like, I'm not. So it's been literally up since last year at Christmas, and it is just one of those things that we turn on the Christmas lights every night, and it just makes her happy.
It makes her feel cozy. Like, that's great.
It does. And I was like, okay, babe, that's fine. If you want to leave that up, no big deal. And she was like, I know it's weird. I was like, no, go for it. So
it's not weird.
She's got a Christmas tree in our bedroom that she stares at and she sees. It makes her happy. So I keep trying to convince her, let's just do that for all of our stuff, because we spend a lot of time decorating. Like, the whole house is green and red and white and all the colors for Christmas. And like, let's just leave it up. But no, can't do it.
I got kind of shamed by my stepmom for the past couple of years because we've gone out of town.
Yeah.
For a couple of Christmases, and she looked at me at Thanksgiving and she's like, "Are you not going to decorate again?" And it was like a total judge. And I'm like, "No, we're staying in town. I'm going to decorate." So like, I got the tree up. I got this tacky tree on my back porch. It's white, and it's got these bubble lights that bubble, bubble, bubble. And it's got these really cool, like 60s vintage ornaments. I'll send you a picture. You can post it with this episode. But it's like these plastic, they're called starlight ornaments, and they're really like, they look very retro. And I found them online on Etsy. My sister and I had one of these blue ornaments while we were growing up. And it was like, we'd fight over it as adults. It was actually her ornament.
Yeah.
But we'd fight over it. And so mom made us trade it back and forth when we got our own homes and got married.
That's funny.
But one year we moved and I lost the blue ornament.
Oh, no.
Right up until Christmas. And my mom was like, she's going to come to call for that blue ornament, girl. and I was tearing my house apart. It was in like my sock drawer. And so I found it and I sent it to her, and I was like, I can't do this anymore. It's mentally draining to me. And so I went online. I was able to find the jackpot of these starlight ornaments, and I ordered me several boxes. She's got several boxes now. So like we all have blue ornaments, we have red ornaments, but they're tacky, but they're like tacky fabulous.
Love it. Hey, tacky fabulous is fantastic. So
I know, I really like tacky fabulous.
I think that's a great one. Okay, so all right, let's rock and roll. Let's take a walk down memory lane. Tell me in the audience a little bit who you are, where you got, or how you got to where you are today, and then we probably won't talk much insurance after that, but let's just at least get into that.
Yeah, sure. So I went to UGA, go Dogs, right?
I don't know about that one, but okay, keep going.
Seriously, go Dogs. So I got to UGA. I was in the business school. I was an international business major. I went to France and spent the summer there. And you can imagine with my Southern accent and then trying to speak French, it was a comedy. And I really got back to school and I could not figure out what I was going to do for my job. And my mom said, I don't care what you do, but you will have a job the day you graduate. So I took it pretty seriously. And I enrolled in an insurance elective. It was something that we had to take, either real estate or insurance. And the guy teaching the class said, I know that y'all are checking the box, but 95% of the kids that graduate with this program have a job or an internship. And so light bulb went off, called my mom.
Mom told me I had to have a job. So
yeah, right. 1 + 1 = 2. And so I called my mom and I said, Mom, I figured it out. Like, I was so excited. I know what I'm going to do. And she said, what are you going to do? And I said, insurance. And she was like, oh, Tinsley. You are going to be so bored. Like, that is not going to match your personality at all. And I said, it's going to be great. It's a service industry. It is a people business. And oh, by the way, I gave her the statistic and she said, okay, I'm going to let you run with this. So I got into the elective and started finding out more about opportunities. And this is a shameless plug for anybody that's considering getting into our industry. And I called her like maybe a month or two after I'd been in the major. And I said, hey, I've got an internship fully paid. And she was like, great, where? She's thinking I'll come back home and work at a small agency. Yeah. San Francisco. I'm going to San Francisco. I'm living with another bulldog. There's a ton of bulldogs out there. Yeah. And it's one of the, world's largest brokerages. And I'm going to be doing X, Y, and Z. And she's like, okay, touche. Yeah. I get it now. And so that really set me off on a journey in this industry. So I've been in it roughly, give or take, over 2 decades. And I have worked on the global broker side. I've worked on a boutique agency side. I've worked on the carrier side for 5 years. I've worked in bank-owned agencies. So pretty much run the gamut. Worked in pretty much every position on the property and casualty side, from an account manager to a senior to an account executive, and now in operations for about 3.5 years.
Okay, so of all of those positions, is where you're at now, like in the operations type role, is that what you tend to enjoy the most of all of that, or do you miss the getting in the mud and the dirt and the nitty gritty of account management?
Well, I kind of moved over to this side of the house before the market turned really scary and hard, and so I have fond memories of my time. I like this because I moved into this role because I really wanted to be the voice of the field and tackle challenges that I had when I sat in the seat. So like I say, I get out of bed every day to help a woman find her brilliance, and we'll get into that. But I also get out of bed to try to solve challenges that I see at the desk level, at the office level. And it's a lot of fun, especially, having done the job. I think it just lends itself so nicely to helping solve the challenges of the job.
Well, here's the thing though. So yeah, you mentioned, and it's the truth, we are in what I would call the longest hard market cycle that at least I've ever seen, and I've done my studies, I've done my homework going back to the 80s. There's a true hard market back to, the, turn of the millennium, like the 99, 2000, you get into, the different phases of the hard market. But I would say there's just as many challenges in a soft market as there are in a hard market. And right now you've got account managers getting yelled at and people getting stomped around and yelled at because why are my rates so high? You did this to me, whatever it might be. And so they're dealing with those challenges. But in a soft market, it's like they'll leave you for $1, you know.
Oh, yeah.
People will leave you for a quarter for that matter. And it's like, you know, you get those kind of challenges, and then you got, you know, the account managers dealing with the stress of, oh crap, I just lost 3 accounts because the guy down the road is what. So, in the roles that you've managed and you've watched these people, like you're dealing with. We're going to focus on women. I know there's men that are in account management roles, but because of where you're at and what we're at, when you're talking to these women and you're trying to manage them through those emotions and through those, you know, times of getting yelled at on the phone, whether it's good or bad or indifferent or raised rates or leaving you for $1. What can you tell them? What do you talk to them about? How do you help them navigate through some of that?
Well, one key is having a really good relationship with your client. The producer is going to have their own separate relationship, but you should have your own relationship with your clients, and that means taking a little bit of extra time on the front end, like know who they're, know if they have kids, if they're willing to share that kind of stuff, if they have a dog, what their hobbies are, getting to know them and solidifying that relationship. So that when you do have to deliver, challenging news, you can pick up the phone and say, hey, John, hey, Sally, we kind of expected this was coming because I've given you some breadcrumbs of what we're learning. Can we talk through this? And so it's really solidifying that client relationship. And some clients just don't need that personal relationship. But I found personally that having a good, strong relationship with the client does help soften some of that news that you've got to deliver. And hey, look, we've all gone and said things to somebody on the customer service side before that we're not proud of. And so you just kind of have to put yourself in the client's shoes too, and realize like they have somebody they're reporting to, they have their own clients, and just treat them like a human, and like golden rule, treat others like you want to be treated, and try to put themselves, yourselves in their headspace and understand what their challenges are. So, and then don't, like, of course, it's hard not to take things personally, but try not to take it so personally. They're not saying they don't like you, but they don't necessarily like the message that you have to deliver to them.
And that's one of the things that I talk about. And what you're talking about is what we call in the South is that how's your mama and them approach, and, ask you, how's your mama and them, and how's things going and whatnot, and get to know them, but again, that taking it personal side of it, it is tough. And one of the things that I talk to people a lot about, and I'm sure you've had this in a similar way too, of don't apologize. Like so many times when an account manager, that lady on the other end, she'll be like, oh, I'm so sorry. You're like, what did you do? You didn't cause those rates to go up.
Right.
You didn't do that. And so it's more about, trying to figure out a way to listen, and navigate through that. And it's like, a lot of times people on the other end phone call, they're, bitching and moaning, for lack of better words, of my rates went up or, whatever it might be, then just listen and try to navigate through that and say, okay, they just need to vent. They just need to yell at somebody for a minute. Mm-hmm. And it sucks to have to be that person on the other end, but that could also be a ministry and a blessing on the other end of that itself, just to be like, hey, I'm here, I'm listening, I'm here for you, whatever it might be. And then, like you said, if you built that relationship, you'll be able to navigate that in the right way.
And a lot of times people are like, well, I don't know all the answers. Of course you don't. Like our industry is so hard. I don't care if you're on the benefit side or the property and casualty side. Like nobody can know everything about insurance or every form or every coverage. You just can't. And one thing that I always learned growing up is my clients appreciate it when I would be like, that is a really great question, and I want to make sure that I'm telling you the correct answer, so let me get right back to you. And you might know the answer. You might be like 99.9% certain, but it is better to confirm that the carrier's perspective is accurate with what you're telling the client. And people don't mind if you're checking on something for them.
Right.
And another thing, like if a client needed me to review a contract and they dropped it on me at like, 4:59 and I need to go get my daughter, I would say, hey, thanks so much. I am on top of this. Let me know if you need it today or if I can get it to you in the morning. And I'd establish that trust with them. And they would be like, oh, we know she's going to get it to us in the morning. So yeah, it's not urgent. But setting that understanding with like, I know you have kids, I have kids. I'm going to be here for you. but I also have to go do my other responsibilities. So let me just be transparent with you. And if I say I'm going to get it to you then at 9 o'clock, I'm going to get it to you at 9 a.m. the next day. So that's the other thing about relationships, like being transparent about like what you deliver, you're going to deliver.
Yeah, totally. So is this, as you're going through this and you're managing people and you've been through your career, however many years it's been, you've been doing this, where throughout that did you come up with this grit, growth, and gumption? Is that kind of through your insurance career? Is that more of your life thing, or is that a church thing, or is that a raising kids and being a wife? Where does that come from?
It's an everything thing, like putting the name to the things, like the grit, growth, and gumption. I'm from the South, like we love grits. Like we love the term grit. Like everybody loves the term grit. And it's very much a buzzword right now. I think that actually coining these, like attaching names to the things that I was experiencing through life was really a God thing.
Yeah.
I knew I had all these challenges, but I didn't know what they were and really how to break them down. And God spoke to me last year, 3:00 in the morning, wake up call. It wasn't like a Sunday scary 1 a.m. panic attack shooting up like I forgot to do something. It was a very strong message of, you've navigated all this stuff, and now it's time for you to help others navigate this stuff. And I want you to write a book. And I get chills talking about this. And I want you to write it fast because women need to hear it. And I want you to get it out there. And I want you to write it simply. So somebody that has, on an 8th grade reading level, maybe English is their second language, I want you to write it very simply so that words like emotional intelligence or resilience, like they don't sound so foreign and scary. Let's break down what they really mean. So
yeah, I think that's awesome. That's one of those things that's scary, and I'm a Christian as well. And when the Lord speaks to you on that, like, you can't say no to that guy. And so, but it's one of those scary things. Even the people within the Bible that did try to say no, he still used them anyway, or he would give them other signs that, you can't say no. But I want to get into, okay, so have you ever seen the movie The Holiday? Stay with me on this.
Are you joking?
That
is my favorite movie. That's where Gumption comes from.
Okay, I was going to ask you that. Okay, so my wife and I, we watch that every year, at least 2 or 3 times.
It's my favorite, Heath.
Dude. So we start off the year, and we have our set movies. And usually around, this time, like the week before Christmas, we watch The Holiday because it's just the best.
It is so good.
Oh, my gosh. And so we're watching that last night. And that word keeps coming up, with Arthur Abbott talking to her about gumption, and his wife had so much gumption and all this stuff about gumption. And I can't help but think about you. And I'm like, crap, I'm interviewing her tomorrow. I'm going to ask her about this.
It is like, that was the word. I love it because, and I talk in the book about the difference between guts and gumption.
Yeah. Okay.
Guts is like, I'm going to do this right now. I'm going to go jump off this cliff or go skydive. I don't know. Skydiving you have to plan for a little bit, but I'm just going to do something really spontaneous, and there's not a lot of thought behind it. Gumption's way more calculated than guts. So I like the word gumption, and I think Arthur Abbott was comparing like Irene Dunn. She's an old movie star, and she did have gumption. Yeah, gumption's a little more strategic and calculated. And women, I'll say this. Women have grit all day long. Like, we have the self-discipline, we have the adaptability, and we're having to adapt to things all the time.
Yeah.
And in grit, like the third element of grit that I break down in the book is the element of resilience, coming back from a setback, thriving, not surviving. And we're good at that too. But the only thing that we're really bad at, and I'm throwing myself under the bus here, is the self-care piece of resilience. Because I'll tell you personally, I have put myself at the very end of the self-care list. We're caring for everybody else. You're caring for small children. You're caring for your husband. You're caring for aging parents. You're caring for your clients. Yeah. And it wasn't until I ended up in the hospital because I was neglecting some menopause symptoms, and I really did almost die. from neglecting this stuff and not questioning my healthcare provider, that I was like, wow, I've got to put myself higher on the priority list. Because if I don't take care of myself, I cannot take care of anybody else. So,
yeah. And we hear that a lot right now. And that's the, you say buzzword. I don't know if it's buzzword, but, this generation is coming up and we hear it a lot, this self-care. We hear about all this, take care of yourself and whatnot. And me being a Gen Xer, and I don't know which generation you come from, but that was something. Yeah. We didn't talk about it. It was more like pull yourself up by your bootstraps, just make it happen. Like it doesn't matter. We don't have a chance to lay around and, take care of yourself. You don't have a chance to feel sorry for yourself. You just got to go and work. But, and I don't say anything wrong with any generation like that. I come from that generation. You sound like, you do too, and you have that grit from that generation. But I love that you have the 3 words there because you go from the grit, the growth, and the gumption. And so, when you talk about that, you talk about self-care, and you talk about, resilience, things like that. It's more than just a buzzword, and I understand that. Some people are like, maybe from my generation or our generation, it was like, I don't have time to take care of myself. I just need to keep pushing through. But you're 100% correct.
Yeah.
And
it's okay to say that until you end up on your kitchen floor because you passed out. Like, that's scary. That's scary when your husband and your daughter are looking at you. Like, yes. Oh gosh, if she falls apart, like this whole thing's going to fall apart.
Yeah, I completely agree. And, almost 10 years ago, this year would be 10 years. I was fresh off a divorce and raising 2 kids on my own. And I had a nasty car accident where I was in a wheelchair for a year and I couldn't take care of myself. I couldn't do a lot of those things. But here I had a 2-year-old and a 7-year-old that I had to take care of. And I had, the week on, week off, custody, and I wasn't going to give that up because once you give that precedence up, it's hard to get it back. So and my wife now was telling the story of, I can remember seeing Heath, in a wheelchair with one arm, changing diapers, cooking food at the thing, because again, if I fall apart, if I'm not there, if I don't show these kids that gumption, that grit to take care of them, to do the things, then, it doesn't happen. And again, I'm not saying their life would have completely fallen apart without me, but the same thing is like, I couldn't afford to. So I had to take care of myself. I had to go to those appointments. There was many a days like, I don't want to go to the appointment. I'm never going to walk again. It doesn't matter. Or I'm never going to be able to do this. I'm never going to do those things. I'm not going. But I had to take care of myself. I had to do it because I wanted to be a father that I needed to be. You wanted to be the mother and the spouse that you needed to be. You wanted to be those things. And so, again, people that are listening to this, whether you're in insurance, whether you're, whatever you do in life, I think that story you're telling is huge. And I think people need to dig within themselves and find that.
So let me ask you this question. When you were in that wheelchair and you were like, they were telling you, it sounds like that you were not going to walk again. I
may not have been. Yeah.
What was it within you or from above? Like, what was it that you were like, I am going to walk again?
It was 2 things. Number one, it was the Lord, telling me, you have a bigger purpose. I have you here for a reason. And I questioned that a lot, as I was sitting there and I went through this phase of depression and I was like, why? What does it matter? Why am I here? I've obviously failed in a marriage. I've failed at this, and and I'm not going to be able to be the father I can be. I'm going to be stuck in this wheelchair. I don't know. I struggled through that, and I just remember, as I'm sitting there feeling sorry for myself, it was just this thing, like you said, God was talking to me like, you have a bigger purpose. There's something I have for you, and I kept searching that out. And I remember for years, even till like a year or 2 ago, searching through like, I haven't found that yet. I haven't found that yet. I remember telling my wife, like, I know God has a purpose for me, and I doubted all that. I did all that. I was like, but what is it? And my wife was like, you ever thought about like your purpose was maybe God wants you to be the best father you could be for those kids. You're the best husband ever for me, and I need that. You give me that, that encouragement every day. You help me go through life. You help me in this and that. These kids look up to you. You're their hero. Like, maybe that's what it is. It doesn't have to be some grand, big, huge thing of like, a burning bush moment, or it doesn't have to be, walking on water kind of thing. It could just be a very simply, you're put on this earth to be the best dang father you can be, or the best husband you can be, the best friend, son, whatever it might be. And once she put it, I was like, you know what? Maybe it's that. Maybe it is that. Or maybe there is something bigger down the road that's going to be revealed to me in a burning bush moment. I don't know. But for me, it was that. And so I know that's something you and I talk about off here. You and I have talked many times before we got on the show, and you've talked about, that you're not here by accident, and that, you have this purpose you have to fulfill, and you want to help other women to fulfill that. So pushing that back to you, what is that for you?
Well, it wasn't a burning bush moment, but it was like probably the clearest message I've ever received as a Christian, to where I was like, I woke up, and I remember telling my husband, like, after that dream, and I think that there had been a little inkling in me that I wanted to help women and speak to more women. And I joke with him now because I told him, like, hey, I want to help women. I want to talk to women. And he's like, well, what would you say to him? I mean, it was just kind of a joke. and he knows that I have a lot to give, but I'm like, I want to speak to women on a bigger scale. And we joke about it now because we're looking back to October of last year, and we're like, we look at everything that has transpired. And if we did a short reel of this past year of writing a book and developing this coaching program and, getting ready to do something bigger and being on stages, bigger stages than I had thought I'd ever be on. Like, we're laughing to ourselves because I was like, wow, what if I had listened to you? Like, what are you going to say to these women? Like, I don't know exactly what I'm going to say, but I'm going to tell them my story.
Yes.
And my story is that we've all got a divine gift. All of our traits, all of our personality traits, like our soul, everything that's happened to us, all of our experiences, none of this is by accident. Like, there's a statistic, and every time I look at it, it gets bigger. But let's just say there's a 1 in 440 trillion chance that you're born, like that everything comes together and you were born as a baby, right? And then all the twists and turns that got you to where you're sitting today and where I am today. Like, this is not by accident. We all are here for a divine purpose. And we also have our own story to tell, but just because it's our story doesn't mean it's not going to resonate with somebody else. So if you don't tell a story, like if I hadn't written my book or you didn't have your podcast and nobody knew about this car accident that you had, you held that within, somebody out there needs the story that only you can tell and only in your voice. So, like, don't come to me and tell me you want to write a book, because I'll make you write a book. I'll get your story out of you. I was just talking to somebody the other day, and she starts telling me about her life. I was like, you have to write a book. People get really intimidated about writing a book because they'll just stare at a blinking cursor on a screen, and that is very intimidating. But, like, my friend showed me a really great way to, like, break a book down in Excel. I'm an Excel nerd, and I broke the whole book down and then, like, had sheets for each chapter. And before I even opened Word, I had pretty much the whole book outline, and then it was just plugging in details and stories in Word. So, like, please don't comment on this podcast and tell me that you have a story, because I'll call you up and you'll be writing a book in 2025.
Dude, that's been the thing for this show since day one, it's almost 5 years ago now. Like, I want to tell your story. And, like, I want the audience to know. And if you're listening to this right now, I say that and I mean it. And I'm proud to say, in the 5 years I've done this, I've never missed a week. I've never taken a week off. I may have re-aired a couple of episodes, but it's only been maybe one a year. And usually I'm bringing it out because I want to tell people's story, because, everyone, like you said, everyone's unique. Everyone has their own story. Nobody looks the same. Nobody's fingerprint or thumbprint's the same. Like, it's the craziest thing. And people are like, oh, I don't have anything to tell, or my story's just like everybody else's, or I look like everybody else, or I'm this or that. No, like, completely not the case. And so I love that you're willing to tell that story, and I love that you're willing to do that. And, the book looks phenomenal. I'm looking at it right now on the screen over here. And I posted, it's funny you say that. I didn't know we were going to get into this, but I posted this morning on LinkedIn, which I'm sure you'll like and comment later because you're good about that with me. But it says, why not now?
Right.
And I had this moment this morning as I was doing my devotional, like, why wait? Like, I've been listening to people, and I've been talking to people on podcasts or webinars and different interviews I've done and talking to people. It's like, I can't wait for the turn of the calendar because I'm going to start this. I can't wait for this because I'm going to do this. And I'm like, January 1 is just an arbitrary, it's just a date on a calendar. Why not now? Why wait? And I remember my whole life I've been a procrastinator, but I can look back at the times when I didn't, and I'm like, holy crap, how much I did. And I remember last year around November, saying to myself, I can't wait till January 1, I'm going to start losing weight. I'm going to go on this big diet. And I remember posting back then, I think, I'm not going to wait. I'm going to go ahead and start now. And I asked people to keep me accountable on Facebook. And I started this journey last year. And to date, and I'm not bragging, but 60 pounds later, I've done that because I didn't wait. I could have said, I'm going to continue to be, I won't say the weight because other people might get offended by it, but I'm going to continue to be this X amount of weight forever because I'm just going to wait till tomorrow. And there was those days, we've all been there, that I just wake up like, I don't want to do it. Like, I want that cheeseburger today, or I want that double cheeseburger today, or whatever, or I want to put this off because I don't feel good today. Whatever that thing might be. You could have said, I hear you, God. I'll write that book next week, or I'll write it next month, or I'll write it next year, or I'll write it in 2 years. Like, I'm sure God didn't give you a timeline of like, it has to be done by this date.
Oh, yeah, he did. It was like 60 days. He did.
Oh, it was 60 days? Clear.
I did.
Wow.
And I have, a full-time job. So it was nights and weekends. Amazing. I always say, like, I wrote this book because of coffee and Jesus. Like, I needed both of those things to get me through. But my husband was like, I don't even remember seeing you for, December, January. Like, I was up in dark 30, and then I was writing all day Saturday, all day Sunday, at night till 10:30. But the cool thing was, it just started pouring out of me.
But again, you could have told him, you could have said, I'm going to do it next week. I'm going to do it next month. I'm going to do it next year. And I'm sure you could think of times in your life when you have done that. I know people listening to this say, oh, I'll do it next week. But I'm like, why? Why not now? And so, obviously God told us you couldn't say no to him. But what was that for you? Like, was that like a ticking clock? I know you said this came to you, but was there anything like a pressure to you in that? Or you just knew, like, I am fulfilling this purpose God gave me, so I'm going to continue to go and just let the words flow. What was that?
Well, it was so clear. Yeah. Like, the message was so clear that it was undeniable, and I had not heard a message like that in my adult life. And so I knew that I needed to obey it. And I knew that I didn't need to be scared. Like, I don't think he puts those things in your heart to set you up to fail. That's not the kind of God we serve. And if he's going to put something that big in my heart, like, it's my responsibility to fulfill it. And so the thing that I allowed myself to do, Heath, is to give myself permission to just do it, but do it like imperfect, do it messy. It's my first book, so like I'll ask everybody for forgiveness on the front end, but I was just like, I'm going to do this, and it's going to be 100% from my heart. And I'm going to pull, like, I think I have 14 different women in the book, friends of mine, my extended network, like these amazing people that I've either known for my whole life or most of my life, a short time. And they added, the color to the book, the variation from just, my insurance career, or, just like so many amazing stories and different aspects. So I was so blessed that, like, these women that are all at the top of their game took time to give me, a chapter, or like a couple of paragraphs to share their story to support the message. So it's been probably the craziest, most emotional year of my life, with so many firsts, but like, I wouldn't trade it. I would feel like, knowing what I know now, I want everybody to challenge that creative side. Like, we're all busy, and especially if you have small children, like, that would be very difficult if I had a small child. So, disclaimer, I couldn't have written this book when I was 35, but I have a teen, and so it's okay. She gives me some time, but like, she doesn't need me in the way that she needed me when she was small. So don't think if you've got two small children and that you can just spend all your weekends writing a book. I'll give that little disclaimer.
So, okay. So I'm over here looking as you're talking through some of this, and actually, I just saw, completely frank, as I'm looking over here, I'm seeing an article written in Insurance Journal about you from several years back about, creativity and women in insurance in Atlanta, which sounds like 2022 was a little bit before this aha God moment. So do you feel like even back in then, God was working in you to kind of give you this? Can you see that now looking back in the moment? It's hard to see that. And you probably couldn't tell February of 2022 that this moment was going to happen.
No.
But was that something now looking back, you're like, oh, God's been working on me this back then?
Yeah, I used to work with a nonprofit, and we were coaching women that had, come through very difficult times in their life. And so I knew that there was something there. I grew up with a single mom, and I have an older sister, and my mom is like the definition of grit. Like, I don't know how she did it. I don't know how she paid our bills. She started a business when we were both small, an interior design business. And, she had never started a business before, and she just never was afraid. Like, I don't remember her cowering to any situation, no matter how bleak. We always laugh about, I'm like, how did you pay the bills? Like, how did you get the bills paid? And she was like, well, to be honest, like, I'd sit down with the bills at the end of the month, a bottle of Chardonnay, and like, she wouldn't drink the whole bottle, but like by the end of the session, she would get those bills paid, and she might have been moving money around, but she got those bills paid. And my sister and I really never wanted for anything, but we learned how to work hard and show up and be organized and be accountable to ourselves, and realize that, like, yes, you might grow up and you might meet Prince Charming, and he's gonna, you're gonna have the best life, but be responsible for yourself and your own livelihood. And so I always just had a passion for women. And back in 2022, like, I remember the article, and I remember being interviewed for the article. But there was absolutely no, like, if you had told me in 2022 that I was going to do this in 2024, I would have been like, wow, that's pretty crazy.
But you did. And so talk to me. Okay. I can't believe it's already been this time, but talk to me through, like, the book. Okay. Grit, Gumption, oh wait, I'm sorry. I missed one. Grit, growth, and gumption. So the three, you call it the 3 G's?
I call it the G-Force code. It's like
G-Force code, not the hamster
cool
movie,
thing. Like, I have this on a mouse pad. Like, if you want to, like, figure out what you're supposed to do, and like, put it on your mouse pad if you use a mouse. But like, here's my little Venn diagram, and like, this is the G-Force code. See, right there in the middle.
Yeah.
And so, and like, God is in there too. Like, I think God is actually the G-Force. But G-Force is actually the combination of the 3.
Yeah.
The 3 things, they all synergize to come together. And I talked about grit, and I talked a little bit about gumption. The growth piece was my Achilles heel.
Okay. Talk to me through the growth piece.
So I was, like so many account managers, senior account managers, you're promoted without an instruction manual. Like, you're good at your job. You're a great individual contributor. Your clients love you. But the leadership piece, like, you don't get all the pieces of how to be a leader. You're good at, like, managing your desk, and your clients love you and your producers love you. But what about if you get a bigger book, and then you get a couple of direct reports, or not even direct reports, people that are working alongside you, and they're like, show them how to do what you do. Well, I can show you how I do it, and I can show you according to the standard, but there's a whole lot of other stuff that comes along with it. And, am I going to have time to take the time to show you how to do something, and like get my little red pen out? So what I did, I had delegation anxiety, and I would hold on to work because I didn't want to give it to people that I wasn't sure that they were equipped to do it. And so I would hold on to work, but then I resent the work. And, there was like several years where I struggled in that role, and I ended up having to hire somebody from the outside to do like a roundtable, a 360 on me. And she said, Tinsley, she interviewed everybody, like my direct reports, my producers, my mentor, who's also my stepmom, and my husband. And I always laugh. I'm like, Steve, I cook your food, so you better be careful about what you say about me. That's what I said to my husband. And, but I mean, they're all like, Tinsley, they know your people know that you love them, but you like love them too hard. It's like when you hug somebody and they like death grip you. That's how I was as a leader, as an early leader. And so she was like, we got to work on your empathy and your emotional intelligence. You have to see it from their perspective. And you have to let them do things, obviously you want them, they have to do it according to standard, but they're going to bring their own style to it. And that is okay. So that is where I really needed this book. Like I needed this book to explain that piece to me.
So writing the book, yes, it's aimed at women in the industry or women in general, women, that you want to see with, grow in their grit, growth, and gumption. But it sounds like the book, God spoke to you about this book to talk to you as well. And you learned a lot in writing this, and you found out things about yourself in writing this book.
Oh, yeah. I mean, this book is like a love letter to the person I was when I was 35.
That's awesome. Very cool. And so that gives me chills to think about, because 35 was, how old I was when I had in my car accident. And I think about that moment and that year of my life, what that was for myself and growing in that. And so I had to take a second on that one. Sorry. But, okay. So, you're going to make me cry here, but G-Force here say that I got to get back to work here for a second. So this G-Force thing. So is that something you outline? And I know all people buy the book, obviously, but not giving out too much away, but is this something you talk through this Venn diagram in the book and you help people explain? Is there a workbook that goes with it? Is that coming soon? Or
the cool thing about the book, shameless plug, is I wanted this book to be a workbook. And I say, carry this book around in your purse. Like, I don't care if you spill coffee on it or there's pen on it, or like women, I told you about the lip gloss when we first got on the call today. Women have like weird stuff in their purse. Like I have crumbs in my purse. Like I don't put cookies in my purse. I don't know where all this dirt or whatever it is in my purse. So I was like, whatever is riding around in your purse, I want this to be in your purse. And so there's so many sections. Like there's a grit, growth, and gumption assessment in here to show you like where you're high and where you're low. A lot of women will score high on the grit, but the growth piece, they need to work on that, or the gumption. So yeah, there's like plenty of room to work through it. And if you don't like to write in a book, some people get a little nervous about writing in a book. There's a QR code and you can download the Grit, Growth, and Gumption workbook. Yeah. But yeah, it's meant to be abused and used. And I'm more of I learn things if I do them. Like I wanted this to be an exercise and I want it to be something that challenges you. And one of my favorite things in the book, and this is one of my favorite things that I do a lot with people, is this North Star goal exercise.
Okay.
Where we talk about, your personal vision statement. Obviously mine is to impact as many women as I can every day to help them develop their own sense of confidence and what that looks like. So we start by identifying like, what are your 3 core values? What would you hang your hat on? And I really truly believe like your core values should not shift between work and home. Like your values are your values. So what are those 3? Let's put those in a vision statement that says, I'm Heath. My values are faith, family, and fun, or, whatever it is. Over the next 3 to 5 years, I want to use my core values to impact X, like this population of people, the insurance community, by using my skills. And so it's like drawing out your own personal elevator pitch. And I tell people like, keep working at it until it gives you tingles. And it shouldn't just give you tingles. It should give your grandmother tingles. Like when you go to Christmas or your holiday gathering with your family and you're talking about your personal vision statement, people will be like, what's going on with you? Like, why do you're different? Like you've got a different sense of purpose. So I love doing the North Star goal exercise with people, because then they can like write it on the sticky note, put it on their mouse pad, write it on their mirror, to realize that like you matter, your presence on this earth matter. You're here for a bigger purpose.
And okay, so throughout the we've heard you talk about, God laid this on your heart. You've done the thing, you've written the book, and now you're starting to get on stages, you're starting to get the word out, you're on podcasts like this. Where's the end goal? Like, not the end goal, but what is the goal in sight there in the next 3 to 5 years with this book? Is there a goal that you look beyond just writing it?
Yeah, there's a big goal. So, God said to get the book out, and I did. And I'm like, look, it's on Amazon. It's a bestseller. Now I can go back to my Netflix or whatever I'm doing.
Yeah.
And he's like, not so fast. You've got to get this message to 1 million women. And it wasn't, you've got to sell 1 million books. It was, you've got to share what you've learned throughout life with 1 million women by 2026, or within 2026, right? So yeah, podcasts like this help. Launching my own podcast help. So that'll be coming out this month, which is super exciting. And that is sharing a lot of what I've shared with you, a lot of what I've shared on these podcasts, but it's also bringing in the women that were in the book. We've got some really amazing trailblazing women in our industry that are, just doing like groundbreaking things. And I want to talk to them, and I want to share their stories of not only what they're doing professionally, but I want to hear about their journey as women, whether it's being a mother, being a single woman, any challenges that they have. And then I also want to host men like yourself. I have a lot of men in my network that are sponsors and advocates for women. So I want to hear their stories and like how we can help them understand as women, like what our challenges are in the workplace or,
right.
Just in life. So it really is a community of people that are sharing their own stories of grit, growth, and gumption.
Love that. And I love the aspect of bringing males into it as well, because as a male with an incredible wife that's a CEO of her own, business she works in, and raising 2 daughters right behind that, are obviously being influenced by myself and my wife, but seeing her in that and me wanting to raise them up, it's a huge passion of mine. And, I look back throughout my career, and I've always, I shouldn't say always, but most of my jobs have had female bosses, or I've had female leaders ahead of me, even, to this day. And so I'm super proud of that fact, and I'm very supportive of that. And so that being said, if I were to ask you to give a message, in the next 30 seconds or so to the audience about whatever it might be, would it be a different message in a mixed crowd versus just to women? Or is the message the same throughout?
No, I mean, I think the message is the same. Like, I have a husband of 20 years. He's in this industry as well. He's in operations as well. Our dinner time conversation is just stimulating, right?
My wife's in insurance too. So
right. And so, of course, he read the book, he read the manuscript, and he's like, Tinsley, I know you wrote this for women, but this book, really resonates with men as well. We're dealing with similar challenges, and the G-Force code, which is that combination of all three, it can apply to anybody's life. It's a navigation tool, and then your North Star is your guiding light. So, you're going towards that light, but it's not going to always be smooth sailing. You need a tool, a compass, to help you get there. So I think the book and the podcast, I think it'll land with men and women alike. The one thing I like to say about men, especially, in our industry, in any industry, we need men to be our sponsors. You hear a lot of women saying, I need a mentor, I need a mentor, I need a mentor. And you do. My friend Alexis always says you need a personal board of directors. And so you've got different types of mentors on your personal board of director. And you have maybe your board of directors, changes over the years, and people switch, and they, you switch them out on what you need at the time in your life. But men can be great sponsors for women. So that is saying, if it's your daughter, think about her first job or her third job, and she's been in it 5 years. She's got a male that is in her network, or maybe it's her boss, or maybe it's, her boss's boss. but he's in a boardroom, or he's on the golf course, or he's having a lunch meeting or a prayer breakfast, whatever. And he's like, his daughter, what's your daughter's name?
Emma and Sydney.
Sydney. Sydney just came up with this like innovative idea, or she presented the other day, and I was just completely blown away. Like, have you heard her? Have you met her? If not, I would really like for you to meet her, because she could be a perfect fit for this new position we're creating. Those are game-changing conversations. Those are the types of things where, men and women can be sponsors. Sure. I just think sponsorship is a little bit underrated.
I completely agree. So I follow you, and I see you on LinkedIn. I'm looking over here, and one of the things I love, and I think, and you tell me if I'm wrong, but if people wanted to find you and connect with you, LinkedIn would be a great way, I would say, because you have on here a link to book your breakthrough call. You have links to your book. You have links to yourself, and you also have stuff for insurance on here as well. But is there a better way, or is that the best way for people to find you and get in touch with you, or you want them to go somewhere else, or is there email address, phone number, text, or however you want them to get a hold of you? Or
no, they can definitely go to my LinkedIn. I think that's such a great platform, not only to share thought leadership on a variety of topics and industry information, but just the fact that the connection, like you and I have never met, we would have never met via Zoom had there not been LinkedIn. So plug for LinkedIn. I met so many cool people, and come on my page, comment on my stuff, like tell me a little bit more about you, send me a message. And then when this podcast drops, I want you to listen.
Who's amazing, but also very goofy too.
What's that?
I said, when you go to her LinkedIn, get ready to meet someone amazing and inspirational, but also pretty goofy as well.
We can't take ourselves too seriously in this life. And I really don't. I want people to see all sides of me. And I am kind of a goofball.
I absolutely love it. And that's why, I feel like I connect with you and resonate with you a lot, because I'm the same way. But I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I wanted people to know they're going to have a lot of fun on your page, and they're going to be inspired. So go check that out at LinkedIn. And it's Tinsley English. And then is the website gritgrowthgumption.com.
Yeah, that's a mouthful, right?
But it's fantastic. Okay, so anything else, like any other way they can contact you, anything else you want to leave them with before we get out of here?
Yeah, I mean, when you book a call with me, we're probably going to talk about, this is for women, but we're going to talk about what's going on in your life and what you need to just do it. Like, do I need to give you permission? Do you need to give yourself permission? Women a lot of us have things that we want to do, and we're like hiding behind this fear or worried about what people think about us. So, a lot of times when people get on the phone with me, I'm like, I'm going to push you to do something that might be uncomfortable for you, but it might be a game changer for you as well. So don't book a breakthrough call with me if you don't want kind of a breakthrough message.
The first time I spoke to you, I think you had me in tears. And so, yeah, get ready to get real. And I appreciate that about you. I appreciate you being willing to come on here and talk. And I want to help you fulfill that mission. So, if you're listening to this and you resonate with anything on here and you want to help Tinsley to reach that million women, whether you're male or female, please reach out to her. Please reach out to me so I can at least forward it to her. Find a way to connect. And if you want the book and you're like, I can't afford anything else right now, find me. I'll buy the book for you. I'll send it to you.
Yeah.
Whatever it takes. I want this book out in your hands. So send me an email, Heath at Insurance Town Podcast. If you want the book and you can't afford anything else because it's Christmas time, that's fine. I get it. I'll buy the book for you.
Heath, thanks.
So I want this out. I think it's huge. I'm going to purchase, several today myself. So I'll have them on hand if anybody. I've got a bookshelf over here full of books from people that have been on my show, because I buy the books because I want people to have these books.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have you on the show if I, didn't believe in what you were talking about. So do that. I appreciate you very much. Thank you for being here and hanging out with me and the audience.
Yeah, sure. And we didn't talk about this at length, but the podcast is dropping. And so listen to the podcast, share the podcast, like the power of a podcast is the way that we reach 1 million women, and we can reach it
Yes.
really quickly. Like, let's bust through that million. And I want this podcast to go all over the
And
world.
what's the podcast called?
Big surprise. Grit, growth, and gumption.
There you go. Awesome. Anything else? You good?
That's it. I hope everybody has great holidays, and just do whatever your heart is telling you in 2025. If something's been tugging at your heart, really take some time through the season to think about what kind of impact you want to make, and don't wait, because the world is waiting for the story that only you can tell in your voice.
Oh, I love that. I absolutely love it.